What if I told you that somewhere out there, hidden in the harsh, blistering expanse of the Arizona desert, lies a gold mine worth untold billions of dollars? I mean, we're talking about a mine so unfathomably rich that anyone who discovers it could literally become wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unraveling the terrifying, blood-soaked history of the Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine. It's a question that has haunted treasure hunters for well over a century now. Is the promise of unimaginable wealth actually worth paying the ultimate price? Because, this isn't just some spooky campfire story about misplaced gold. It's a sprawling, real-life mystery that has actively lured thousands of people into a labyrinth of canyons. And for a lot of them, it became a one-way trip. Okay, let's dive right into this. For over 130 years, waves of explorers and prospectors have obsessively searched for this specific mine. Some of them simply packed up their gear, walked out into the desert, and were never seen again. Others, well, they were found dead under wildly bizarre and violent circumstances. It's a legend that really blurs the line between a historical treasure hunt and a modern-day true crime scene.
Chapter 1: Legend of the Superstitions.
So to really understand this mystery, we first have to understand the environment. The Superstition Mountains, which are just east of Phoenix, are absolutely beautiful, but they are incredibly unforgiving. We're talking towering cliffs, deep, disorienting canyons, and a sweltering climate that can literally drain a person's life away in just a few hours. Long before Europeans ever arrived, Native American tribes considered these mountains to be sacred ground. Some believed they were guarded by powerful spirits or even served as a gateway to the underworld. Then, by the 1700s, Spanish explorers show up, bringing with them these frantic rumors of massive gold deposits. Fast forward to the 1850s, and we get the famous legend of the Peralta family, who supposedly mined incredible amounts of gold here right before being massacred by Apaches. But here is exactly where history and myth start to get kind of tangled up. The whole Peralta legend was actually heavily influenced by a massive land fraud. A man named Dr. George M. Willing Jr. paid $20,000 to a guy named Miguel Peralta for mining rights to a huge swath of land. The catch? It was based on a totally bogus Spanish deed. But that massive financial swindle helped permanently weave the name Peralta into the fabric of the mountain's lore. Chapter 2: Enter the Dutchman. Now we get to the prime originator of this entire mystery. This is the man who transformed scattered rumors into an absolute legendary fever. But actually, scratch that. Let's clear up a 130-year-old misunderstanding first. The Dutchman wasn't actually from the Netherlands at all. His name was Jacob Waltz, and he was an immigrant from Germany. Back in the 19th century, Americans frequently misunderstood the German word for German, which is Deutsch, and mistakenly just called German immigrants Dutch.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the legend completely exploded. Waltz homesteaded near Phoenix in 1870. Pretty soon, the locals began noticing something really strange. Waltz would occasionally return from the mountains carrying unusually pure gold nuggets. Of course, whenever anyone asked about his source, he absolutely refused to answer. When he fell fatally ill in 1891, he was cared for by a woman named Julia Thomas. On his deathbed, he supposedly gave her clues to the mine's location. But his directions were so vague and so confusing that when Thomas finally went looking, she found absolutely nothing.
Chapter 3: Death Follows the Gold. Now, if the story stopped there, it would just be a quirky local curiosity, right? But the blinding allure of Jacob Waltz's gold quickly evolved into a visceral, deadly reality. Enter Adolf Ruth. In 1931, this 66-year-old amateur treasure hunter arrived in Arizona. Keep in mind, he had metal pins in his leg from a previous fall and walked with a cane. Yet he completely ignored every warning about the extreme summer heat. In June, he was escorted to a camp at Willow Spring. On June 14th, he wrote a final letter to his family and then just vanished completely. 6 months later, searchers stumbled upon a human skull under a Palo Verde tree. Now, what's really interesting about this is the forensic reality of the scene. It's chilling. The skull was found 6 miles away from his camp. A prominent anthropologist, Dr. Alice Hrdlicka, confirmed it belonged to Ruth using dental records. But here is the truly shocking part. The skull had 2 holes in it. They were identified as point-blank bullet holes. And when they found the rest of his remains a month later, his pistol was recovered fully loaded. He hadn't even fired a single shot. Oh, and that fabled Peralta treasure map he was known to be carrying, completely gone. But it gets weirder. Among his scattered belongings, authorities found his checkbook. Tucked inside was a handwritten note detailing directions to a cave, and it ended with the haunting Latin phrase,
Veni, Vidi, Vici, which means I came, I saw, I conquered. It strongly suggested that Ruth actually found the mine right before someone murdered him for his map.
Chapter 4: Curse of the Superstition Mountains. Adolf Ruth's brutal unsolved murder made national news, and it really begs the question, what is actually protecting this secret? Is it human greed? A deadly environment? Or a supernatural curse? The folklore surrounding this is terrifying. Treasure hunters have reported hearing ghostly voices echoing through the canyons, seeing mysterious lights, and encountering shadowy figures that just vanish. Believers argue that Native American guardian spirits are actively protecting the gold. Skeptics, on the other hand, point to a much more grounded reality: extreme summer heat, severe dehydration, and deeply disorienting terrain that can easily cause a person's mind to play tricks on them as they succumb to exhaustion. But the mountain's bloody reputation isn't just based on hallucinations or heat stroke. Ruth wasn't the only victim, not by a long shot. Let's look at this timeline. In 1933, J.A. Bradford vanished without a trace. In 1947, James A. Cravey chartered a helicopter into the mountains. His headless remains were found later. In 1955, Charles Massey was found shot directly between the eyes. And as recently as 1984, Walt Gassler was found dead right after telling people he had finally discovered the mine. The sheer volume of violent, unexplained deaths here is just staggering. Chapter 5: Modern Searches. Now, you might think that with all this death and mystery, people would stay far, far away. But no, this is not just some forgotten frontier tale. It's a living obsession. So the crucial point is this staggering number: 9,000. An estimated 9,000 people annually still make some sort of effort to locate the Lost Dutchman's gold mine. Every single year, new adventurers hike into the Superstitions, hoping to do what over a century of prospectors completely failed to achieve. And today's searchers aren't just relying on old greasy paper maps either. We're talking high tech. They utilize GPS, drones, satellite imagery, and incredibly advanced metal detectors. Yet they face a massive geological hurdle. Geologists note that the Superstitions are primarily volcanic igneous rock. To put that into perspective, it means it is highly unlikely to naturally hold placer gold, which is the loose, water-washed gold nuggets that Waltz supposedly found. So, despite all our modern technology and countless clues being endlessly analyzed, the mountain has not yielded a single verified piece of treasure. Conclusion: the unsolved mystery. After more than a century of obsession, fraud, bloodshed, and massive technological advancement, the exact location of Jacob Waltz's legendary mine remains entirely unproven. The murders still unsolved. It leaves us to really wonder, did the gold ever exist at all, or was it a cachet left behind by someone else? Is a billion-dollar fortune still sitting out there, just waiting for the right person to decode the clues? Or are the Superstition Mountains destined to keep their deadly secret forever? If you enjoyed diving into this explainer with me, please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our deep dives into history's most fascinating mysteries.